welcome back to The Blueprint, the podcast where we talk about professionals from different industries and break down their journeys and get real about what it takes to succeed. Today, I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, with a guest who works volumes in the world of law, Mr. Gerald Griggs. Now, some of my listeners might not be familiar with you just yet, so before we dive in, could you give us a quick introduction to who you are and what you do?
How you doing? I'm Attorney Gerald Griggs. I've been practicing law in the state of Georgia for over 20 years. I've handled some of the biggest cases in Georgia history, the Atlanta Public Schools cheating scandal trial, and I've also handled many of the clients in the R. Kelly sex trial matter. So I've been doing this work for quite a while.
Now, this podcast is aimed at confused students like myself, and I've been influenced by many TV shows and social media about what law really is. And before we get into all the myths and stuff, I've considered, doing law because it's something that seems attractive to me. And I want to firstly break down the path to become a lawyer. So after high school, what happens? What do we do? An undergraduate degree and then law school? What is it?
Yeah, so there's a typical track and then there's a non-traditional track. Most individuals, after they graduate from high school, then they choose a college that has a pre-law track. And so they pick a major, whether that's English or political science or some of the humanities to just kind of strengthen themselves, philosophy. And then after they've done the 4 years and gotten that bachelor's degree, then they apply to law school, and then of course it's 3 years of training in law school. Now, most people, I would say, should go the non-traditional track, have a double major, something that is law related like philosophy or political science or anthropology, but also a business track, so you can get a business degree, maybe even an MBA, so you can know the business of law. But ultimately, you're trained in the law at law school, and so that's where the training occurs. And you take after you graduate from college, you take the LSAT, you get accepted to a law school, and then they train you for 3 years how to become a lawyer.
Right. And now I want you to think about when you were my age, which is 16. Was law always your plan, or?
No, not really. I knew I wanted to be some sort of leader, but I didn't know if I wanted to be an attorney. And when I was 16, there was a major trial going on, the O.J. Simpson trial. Yeah. And so I saw a young lawyer defending Mr. Simpson. His name was Johnny Cochran, and I was just fixed and glued to the television. I was like, I want to be him. And so that's what really engaged my curiosity in the practice of law.
Okay. And if someone my age is set on doing law, they know at my age they want to do law, is there anything they could do outside of school that could help them?
Absolutely. You can intern at a law firm. You can start doing your research online on what it takes to become a lawyer. And then you can reach out to lawyers and probably shadow them for a day to see what it's like, the ins and outs of the practice of law. And then ultimately, I think the most important thing they can do is just engulf everything, the biggest cases in the world, follow them. You can watch them on YouTube. There are law shows and true crime shows, podcasts all throughout YouTube and all throughout the web. I would just, take that in and study that so you know what type of lawyer you want to be.
Yeah. And when you were in university before law school, what were you not prepared for in university and after you went to law school?
As far as the practice?
Yeah, like when you got to law school, what was like a big shock to you?
Oh, the Socratic method. So you never get the correct answer. They just go through the process of analysis. So most people, their brain is set to argue one way. Yep. But as a lawyer, you have to be able to see both sides and be able to get to the analysis of the answer. Typically, the answer is irrelevant. It's how you get there mentally and logically that we weren't prepared for through university. And once you get to law school, that first year, they kind of retrain you how to think. So you can argue both sides and give thorough analysis into your answer.
What did you learn as a practicing lawyer after you graduated law school that law school could have never taught you?
How to make money. They teach you how to be a professional, but they don't teach you how to be a businessman. So that's why I say people that are interested in this, you need to have some type of business background because they're going to train you in the practice of law, how to be a litigator, how to be a transactional attorney, but they're not going to train you on how to get clients.
Can you talk to me a bit about that business side? Because I was thinking about it, but I wanted to keep this episode a bit more about law. But it seems that business side is also an integral part. So could you talk to me about like what that really is? Is it just about getting clients and advertising yourself?
Yeah, it's about marketing.
Okay.
You have to brand yourself. And so they don't teach us that in law school. They teach you that, you'll go out there and you'll be an exceptional lawyer and clients will just fall from the sky. And that's not going to happen. You have to, of course, hone your skills and become a great tactician in whatever area of law you're in.
Yep.
But you also have to be a people person. You have to make sure you understand the vibe of the community and what legal needs the community needs, and then become an expert in that. So I think in this age, most lawyers have to be attuned to what's happening in social media, what's happening on the internet, and they have to be able to adapt their skills into marketing themselves and making sure the public knows the skills they have and what they offer as their services.
So you talked about a bit about the skills that you need, and for me in high school right now, the subjects are, they're getting a bit more difficult, and law and becoming a lawyer and all these things, it tends to be for people who run away from math.
Yeah, that's true.
Is
that's
it true?
Yes. So most lawyers are very logical,
right?
And mathematics is very straightforward. So you can't really, well, you can be a little creative, but you can't. It's like rigid.
Yeah.
And so if you have the type of creative mind to come up with different types of arguments and different ways to see fact patterns, it's not going to lend well to mathematics. So most lawyers are not very good mathematicians, except for copyright lawyers and those that do intellectual property.
Right.
So I would just say, if you're going to practice law, you can kind of steer away from the mathematics, except for learning how to count money.
Right. So if you're a student and you're good at some subjects and you like some subjects and you don't like some subjects, what subjects would a lawyer probably like at my age?
History, world history, American history, European history, African history. You also like anything related to philosophy, anthropological studies, basically the study of people, because you're doing a lot of service to people. But if you're like a litigator, you're also trying to figure out how the mind works and how to put your argument together to where you are influencing the emotions of individuals to lean towards your argument.
Right. And after you graduated law school, right, you talked about how you didn't know much about the business side and how that's so important. What was the biggest mistake that yourself and other young lawyers make right after they get out of law school? Not
understanding that you have to have capital built up before you start your own firm.
Okay.
So I didn't come straight out of law school into private practice. I went into the public defender's office.
Okay.
So I could hone my skills and get at least 10 trials under my belt, because I think every trial lawyer needs to have at least 10 trials from start to finish.
Is the public defender's office like the government?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you do criminal practice, there are two different sides. There's a prosecution, that's the district attorney's office or solicitor's office, and then you have the public defender's office who defend people who can't afford attorney.
Right,
And so you get that training on all types of criminal cases. And so that's one of the things I wanted to focus on, because I didn't want to come out and not really know how to, try cases. But in doing that, I didn't save enough money to come out and start my own practice. Because you need to have, at least, well, at that point it was 50. Now I'd say 100,000 in the bank to last you 6 months, just in case you don't get a single client.
Okay.
So those are the things that I didn't know at the time, and to how to market yourself. If you don't have 100,000, you can't run radio ads, you can't run TV ads. So you got to do word of mouth, and it takes a while to build up a clientele based on word of mouth.
Yeah. So I guess you're kind of saying that after you get out of law school, work for someone else a bit, and then get into your own firm.
Exactly. Do some type of training with a seasoned attorney. Of course, government attorneys are some of the best in the business because they have such volume. But make sure you are comfortable enough to take a case from the beginning to the end and put it together, and then you should be prepared. And of course, have a sizable amount of capital built up so that you can fund your law firm for at least 6 months without any clients.
Right. And you talked about how you're in the public defender's office. So what was your first big win in court, and how was that? Like, describe the whole scene.
The first big win was my first felony case. So,
Okay.
the first 8 months in state court, which is where most of the misdemeanors are cases where it can land you in jail for up to 12 months and a $1,000 fine. Felonies are you could go to prison for
Right.
1 year or the rest of your life, or
Okay.
you could get, capital punishment,
Okay.
which is the death penalty.
Yeah.
And so my first major victory, I was called down by Judge Irwin, who was the chief judge of the Rockdale Judicial Circuit.
Okay.
So he was the Superior Court judge. He was the chief judge, and he said, "I got a case for you. And I heard you've been over there at the public defender's office and you've been doing misdemeanors, but I got a case for you." So it was a guy who was charged with some type of theft case,
Okay.
and he was like, "This guy he's really difficult, and so I want you to go over there and help him." I'm like, "But Judge, I hadn't tried a felony case." "Yeah, you'll be all right." So I went over there, and turned out the guy was innocent.
Oh.
Which is why he was being difficult.
Okay.
And so I got his case, worked his case, investigated his case, found the witnesses that said he was innocent, and presented it to the state. And ultimately, his case was dismissed. And at that point, I was like, "Oh, I might be able to do this." Because, misdemeanors, nobody's going to jail for a long time.
Yeah.
This guy was looking at 10 years in prison. So he had every right to be angry with the public defender's office and others who he felt were not adequately representing him.
Yeah.
And that case turned into 10 to 15 other cases where he started referring cases. And that goes back to building that word of mouth in the community.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And you said how the judge gave you that case. Now that you're an established lawyer, how do you choose which cases to take?
It just depends. Different clients call. Judges still refer cases. Other lawyers refer cases. Sometimes a case that I see on the TV, next thing I know, somebody's called me and said they want me to help on that case. So, now at 20 years in, I can pick and choose. But I also do a little bit of indigent defense work. That way I can take pro bono cases that, people wouldn't get effective high quality legal resources because they can't afford it. So that keeps me sharp.
Yeah.
But many times it's just I get a feeling about the case. I listen to the person, go over the facts, and be like, I believe what you're saying, so I take a case.
Right. And I want to talk about a bit more of the practical side when you're a lawyer. So a lot of students, they're international students, and they'll come here and they'll study. And as per my understanding, you become a lawyer for the state, as in, so what happens if you want to move somewhere? If you were to decide that you want to move to New York, what would happen?
Well, there are two type of barred attorneys. You have state bar, and then you have federal courts.
Okay.
And so, yes, if you want to practice law in the state, you have to be barred in the state. So you have to be barred in like the State Bar of Georgia, the State Bar of Alabama. Okay. But if you get barred in a federal court, then you're barred throughout all of the federal courts all over the country. And then there are some lawyers who practice overseas that have international skills. So don't know as much about how you practice internationally because I haven't done it. Yeah. But basically what you do here is you get barred in one state, and then you stay there for 5 to 7 years. And then many states have reciprocity, which means you can waive in. So Alabama has reciprocity with Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. So if you wanted to be a multi-state practicing attorney, you could get barred in multiple states. Some people, especially up north, do that, barred in New York and Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Okay. Or on the West Coast, well, most of the time they're just barred in California. But, some are barred California, Oregon, Washington. It just depends on how close the states are.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the law school part of it. What was the most difficult part of law school?
Retraining your mind how to think like a lawyer.
Okay.
I think that took at least a year because, again, law school is about hiding the ball. Okay. Nobody's going to tell you how to be successful in law school because there's a gradation system in law school. The top 10% get the best jobs coming out of law school. Okay. So it's highly competitive. Yeah. And those first semester grades really set your course for the rest of your law school career. So what you have to do is to get a mentor who is in the bar in whatever state you're in that city, and they'll mentor you. They'll give you the law outlines and all the things you need to know to be successful in that first is first semester. Once you get past first semester, you understand Socratic method, you understand all of the brief writing you have to do. It becomes easy, and now you just have to find where the black letter law is, and be able to argue on both sides.
Right. And who was your mentor?
Fanon Rucker, who was the president of the Cincinnati Black Lawyers Association. He's now a lawyer with the Cochran firm in Cincinnati. He took me under his wing and showed me the ropes. And then there was Judge Nathaniel Jones, who was the first African-American to sit on the 5th District Court of Appeals. He gave me the best advice any lawyer's ever given me. He said, Gerald, don't worry about the money. Just hone your skills. So first thing you need to do out of law school is try 10 cases.
Right.
Once you can try 10 cases from the beginning to the end, you'll make as much money as you want to make, but you'll also be better than 90% of the lawyers, because 90% of the lawyers that are barred in Georgia, but in the United States, have not tried more than 10 cases.
Right.
I tried 10 cases last year.
Okay. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And, on social media, I see reels about what law school is like. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's this logic test where they give you a phrase and you have to kind of...
But that's to get into law school.
Oh, right.
So logic games and logical reasoning is on the LSAT.
Okay.
Now, once you get into law school, yes, there's a lot of logic, but there's also a lot of reading and analyzing black letter law to see how it changes and applying it to fact patterns and being able to argue both sides. Yeah. So to get in, yes, a lot of logical reasoning, a lot of logic games. Once you're in, it's a lot of legal analysis.
Right. Okay. How do you stay sharp as a lawyer?
I try a lot of cases.
Try a lot of cases?
Yeah, I try a lot of cases. And like I said, I tried 10 last year, but I've tried 10 this year, and we're just in July.
Okay.
So I'm averaging a case and a half every month.
Is that like far above average?
Absolutely. Like I said, most lawyers haven't tried 10 cases.
Okay. Right.
And then when you got criminal defense attorneys over their entire career, they may have tried maybe 30.
Right.
I've tried hundreds of cases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with a big time lawyer.
Yeah.
And we're close to the end of the first segment, right? Is there anything else you would want to add to someone who wants to become a lawyer in terms of the academic part?
Yeah. Just understand that, to become a great lawyer, you don't have to be a great student.
Right.
You just have to work hard and make sure that you understand, the basics step by step, and then perfect it. Yeah. There's a book written. It's called the C law student, who is the chairman of the board of directors of the biggest law firms in the world.
Okay.
Because most of the time, your major partners were the C students.
Right. Okay.
And the A students work for them.
Right.
Because the C student understands that he or she's got to work 3 times harder to get ahead. And they have a burning desire inside. So what I would just tell students is, yes, your grades matter, but you also have to understand you have to have a burning desire to be great to end up being the best lawyer.
Right. Okay. And now we're going to segment 2, which is the reality of legal work and what it's actually like. Because for someone like me who's watched Suits twice, I have a lot of misconceptions. Mm-hmm. But firstly, so you do criminal defense, personal injury, litigation, and civil rights. Civil rights?
Yes.
So can you just break that down as to what each of those actually is and what you do in each of them?
Okay.
Yep.
Criminal defense is defending anything from a traffic ticket to a murder.
Okay.
So if somebody gets arrested by the police, I'm the first person they call. Hopefully they call me before they get arrested so I can tell them not to say anything. Yeah. Then personal injury is auto accidents, truck accidents, slip and falls, negligent cases, medical malpractice. When something bad happens to you and you need to sue, that's personal injury. Yeah. Litigation is trial work. So that could be a civil trial, a criminal trial. That means I'm a trial lawyer. That means I spend a majority of my time in front of a judge or in front of a jury.
Right. Okay.
I enjoy that.
Okay.
All right. And then, of course, civil rights is, if you think of Thurgood Marshall, you think of great lawyers of the past who were arguing for people's rights. Yeah. And, of course, in the climate we're in right now, that's the most important thing. Yeah. And so that is fighting for voting rights, reproductive rights, what's happening with our brothers and sisters who are coming to America, want to become American citizens, but there are barriers to that. Yeah. It's all kinds of protection of our most valued document, which is the Constitution, and the first 10 amendments, which are the Bill of Rights, which really are your civil rights.
Yeah. Okay. And I also want to talk about as a lawyer, as all of those lawyers, what work are you doing the most? Is it reading files, or is it actually being in the courtroom?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, so reading files is how you get to the courtroom. But again, I spend at least 4 days out of the week in somebody's courtroom, driving around this state, from Metro Atlanta all the way down to South Georgia. Okay. So it's a lot of work in courtrooms, but it's a lot of reading, a lot of staying up to date on the latest cases and what the case facts are in your case.
Yeah. And that's a good point. I had a question for that. Laws are constantly changing. So what's the best way to stay up with that? Is it just social media, or do you have someone who tells you what laws are?
Websites.
Okay, websites.
So Lexis, Westlaw, and then of course in Georgia, we're in session for 40 days. And so there's a website, the government's website, that gives you what the laws are as they are changing, as they're being voted on, and then once they're passed. And that would be ledge.ga.gov. You can just watch it as bills are going through.
All right. And a lot of fields that students go into, they're often very competitive. And even after they graduate, it's very competitive to get a job. And even in the workspace, you can often find coworkers, competing against each other. Is it the same way in law? Are people competitive, or are they actually trying to work together?
They're absolutely competitive. Lawyers are some of the most competitive people you ever meet.
Okay.
I mean, they literally, they fight to, they got basketball leagues for lawyers, and we aren't very good at basketball, but we're fighting for that. So, it's definitely, and I think law school sets it up that way. Your first semester of law school, you're fighting to get the best grades.
Right.
You're going to be fighting the rest of your career.
Okay.
And so you just become good at it. You become great at arguing both sides, and you recognize that you're a professional arguer. So you don't argue in your personal life. That's how you burn out. Yeah. But you got to be super competitive being an attorney.
Right. Okay. And now this segment is called The Reality of Legal Work. So I have to ask, is law anything like the show Suits?
No. And in my generation, we watch Law and Order. It's not like Law and Order. I think the closest show that you can get to the actual practice would be The Practice. Okay. But most of them miss it. Law can be very boring. Yeah. Now, when it's exciting, it's real exciting. Okay. But when it's not, it's very monotonous, very boring, a lot of intensive reading and studying for the 5 to 10 minutes of the glamorous stuff that you see on YouTube, you see on Instagram and Twitter, X, and other threads now. But most of the time, it's just a lot of monotonous reading, and it's very boring.
Have you watched Suits?
I haven't watched Suits.
You should.
Do you think so? Yeah. Okay, I'll check it out.
Suits, the Lincoln Lawyer.
Lincoln Lawyer is good. I have watched that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it accurate?
It's somewhat. Yeah, okay. Somewhat. Yeah. Again, it's not as exciting as that. When it gets exciting, it is. Yeah. But for the most part, it's a lot of monotonous, a lot of driving around to different court houses, and a lot of interaction with judges. And most important people you'll meet in the practice of law are the bailiffs and the clerks.
Okay.
Because they know everything that's happening in the courthouse.
The clerk is like
the person that you file your documents with.
Okay. Right.
You got to know her or him to make sure you're doing it. Because if you miss one deadline, you miss one format issue, especially in your higher courts and your Court of Appeals and your Supreme Court, where you put the period or how you format something could be the difference between you winning your case being dismissed before you get to even arguing the facts.
Has that ever happened?
Not to me, but they train you not to do that in law school. But again, if you don't know the clerks, you won't know the rules that are not given to you in law school.
Yeah, and before we move off this question, I have to ask, in Suits or in any law show, when someone's given a file, they'll open it and they'll read it in 2 seconds. Do you have the same capability?
I can read a police report that fast, not the entire file, because mainly as an attorney, you're not reading for what's there, you're reading for what's not there. Okay. And so if you've tried enough cases, you know what elements you're looking for in whatever crime has been accused, or whatever civil right that's been violated, or whatever personal injury, negligence, or intentional tort. Intentional torts are intentional acts that are wrongful acts. Yeah. So you know what to look for, but no, you can't read that fast and consume all the information of the entire file.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned before that you do criminal defense, you do litigation, personal injury, and civil rights. Now, all these practices of law are to do with the people, right?
Yes.
You work very close with people. So, how do you mentally handle cases that involve injustice or trauma?
That's the hard part, and you have to have balance. And I think that's where a lot of lawyers miss it. And I think people who want to become lawyers fail to realize the stress that you're under.
Okay.
Lawyers are officers of the court, so we're the last line of defense between somebody losing their life or their freedom or their money or their family, and so that weighs on you. And if you don't have outlets, my outlets are my family, video games, the internet, funny skits. You got to have balance. If you don't have balance, you will burn out very quickly.
Right. Okay. What's the biggest misconception that young people have about being a lawyer?
That all lawyers are wealthy.
Okay.
They're not. Now, if you are very good, you are extremely wealthy. Yeah. But most lawyers are just regular 9-to-5 people that are trying to make the world a better place by enforcing the law.
Right. And I think that's a good point, because being a lawyer is the triple threat of jobs that parents tell us to do is law, doctor and engineer.
Engineer, yeah.
So yeah, you would assume that lawyers are
extreme, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, there are those that if you're very good at this, you don't have to worry about where you get your next meal or 3 generations of your family where they're getting their next meal.
Yeah.
But if you are doing this for just the love of the law, it's a grind.
Yeah.
But it's worth it, because you get to make sure that, like I said, with that first major case, that guy was innocent.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's being difficult because he was innocent.
Yeah.
And nobody was listening until I got there. So it's understanding that a decision you make can alter the rest of somebody's life.
Yeah, that's quite a serious role. Now, you did say that you're almost doing a case or 2 cases a month.
Trials.
Trials, right. So are most legal cases that fast? Or, I mean, in TV shows at least, that they're doing 2 every week. So, or is it quite slow paced?
It depends.
Okay.
In the beginning, it's kind of slow paced, but once you get into a courtroom, depending on the judge, it can move quick. So you could go to arraignment and be on a trial calendar in 3 months and be trying a case. Yeah. And so if you got a lot of cases like I do, you're in trial calendar every single month. And, I went on paternity leave for about, 4 months. And so when I came back, it was boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And so, if you're not sufficiently equipped to handle that kind of pressure, and I'm not talking about light cases. I'm talking about murder, armed robbery, rape, child molestation. Yeah. That stuff can weigh on you. And so I just think that people do need to understand, if you're good at this or you're doing it at a high level, it's very high pace.
Yeah. Do you get nervous before a big case?
Absolutely not.
No? Never?
No.
Not even the first one?
The first one I was nervous.
Okay.
But once you realize that, the law is what it is.
Yeah.
The facts are what they are. Yeah. And you're literally only talking to 12 people. It's not like you're talking to a whole stadium full of people. So you pick out 1 or 2 of them in there, and you have a full conversation with them, and it becomes easy at that point. And, and most lawyers who are trial lawyers like to talk.
Okay.
So you're just having a conversation with people.
Yeah. And it seems to me, at least from my understanding, that there's 2 lawyers, one defending, one the prosecutor, and then there's a judge. Everything seems quite subjective, as in it's all people talking to each other, right? Yeah. So has anything ever sort of frustrated you that this person isn't seeing what you're seeing?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, most of the time I'm not really focused on opposing counsel. I'm focused on the judge. Yeah. And sometimes it feels like in certain cases you're literally fighting the judge.
Right.
And because, sometimes judges put their thumb on the scale.
Okay.
And so that's the most frustrating, because what the law says, what the facts are, they can't beat you. Yeah. But then you fighting this person in the black robe who's ruling the wrong way, and you got an audience over here. And so that's the balance. That's a delicate dance to not get upset, to not let them see you sweat, but to also be kind of sleight of hand. I want you to look over here,
Yeah.
but I'm showing you something over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's the end for the reality part. Is there anything else that you want people to know about becoming a lawyer?
Just that, it's a lot harder from the outside than it really is on the inside. If you get a good mentor who can guide you in the right direction, this thing is easy.
Yeah.
And then once you perfect it, you can get very good at it.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Now for segment 3, it's about the mindset, the principles, the pressure, and the actual purpose of being a lawyer. And the first question is, how do you deal with losing a case if you've lost a case that you deeply believed in?
It's difficult. And any great lawyer that tells you they've never lost a case hasn't tried many.
Okay.
You're going to win some you're not supposed to win,
Yeah.
and you're going to lose some you're not supposed to lose.
Right.
And, the biggest hurdle and the biggest hurt that you got to get over is if you lose, somebody's life can be affected for the rest of their life and then their family members.
Yeah.
And so that's a difficult pill to swallow, especially if you truly, honestly believe your client was innocent.
Yeah.
Or something really bad happened to them, but you cannot prove it, to a preponderance of the evidence standard in a civil case. Or there's just some really bad actor, like a police officer who killed somebody, and you can't get through the system because the system is trying to protect them.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that's difficult, and you never quite rest well with that. I mean, I give you a perfect example. My biggest case at the time was the Atlanta Public Schools cheating scandal trial, which at that point was Georgia's longest trial. It was been an investigation for years, and the trial lasted 8 months. It was the first RICO trial before the YSL trial. And so, representing a lot of teachers who had nothing to do with cheating,
Yeah.
and then to go 8 months and think you won, and then turn out you lost,
Yeah.
but then you end up getting your client record expunged,
Yeah.
and no conviction. It actually was a win, but that pressure, it still sits with me to this day. And seeing, innocent people railroaded that's difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that kind of leads me to my next question, which I wanted to talk about. So in regards to criminal defense, do you only take cases that you believe are innocent?
No, everybody comes into my office is innocent.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Now, you should ask the follow-up question. How do I know that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the law says you're innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
And then once you understand that it's incumbent upon the state to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, somebody could come into your office and say, I murdered 3 people. And you say, that's fine. What do the police know? Do the police know you murdered 3 people? No. Well, then don't tell anybody else what you just said.
Right.
And so at that point, now, regardless if they did it or not, if the state can't prove it, then they are innocent. And once you get that mindset, you can defend anything.
Right. So I guess that for someone who hasn't heard that before, that could be a little hard to sit with. You were talking about how you're defending innocent people, and if they go to jail, then their whole families will be torn apart and all these sort of things. So if you are defending someone who is guilty, who is guilty, who's done horrible things and has torn apart families themselves, do they still deserve the defense that will actually prove them as innocent?
Absolutely. Because in order for this system to work, we prefer that 9 innocent people go free and 1 guilty person go free than to 9 innocent people get convicted and 1 guilty person get off.
Right.
And so once you understand the system is set up that way, and the only way that you get to that level of accuracy is for the state to be held to their burden, you understand that's how the system works. So, morally, yeah, it may feel bad that somebody who murdered 4 people is going home.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If the police are cutting corners and convicting folks who didn't murder 3 people and they're going to prison,
right,
that's a problem. And so once and it takes a while, even for seasoned lawyers to understand that, because when you go to law school, you do have this Pollyanna idea, I'm only going to have innocent clients. Well, first thing, don't ask your client if he did it or not.
Okay.
Ask them, What do the police say happened?
Okay.
And what do you think they can prove? That way you never have to ask that question.
All right. And have you ever dropped a case that it was too much and you couldn't, it conflicted with your moral compass?
No.
Right.
No.
I guess I understand your point. Because if you didn't defend a person who was guilty, then the whole system kind of falls apart. But I don't know. I guess it still doesn't sit well with me. But obviously, I haven't gone through the training that you have, and you see it in a different way.
Well, ultimately, and I don't know, if you believe in a higher being or not. But ultimately, if you did something, this world is the least of your worries. Now, I do tell that to people, all my clients. Whatever happens here, this is you're just passing through. Yeah. Now, if you did what they said you did, I don't want to know if you did it. You got to worry about, clearing your conscience and dealing with that higher being, because he saw it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that makes it. I agree with that. Yeah, that's makes it a bit better, I guess.
Because there was this great lawyer about 2,000 years ago. He had the greatest closing argument ever. They brought a woman who they caught in the midst of adultery, and he sat down like most lawyers and said, "Let he who's without sin cast the first stone."
Okay.
That's an awesome closing argument, because everybody like, oh, I've done all those things. And so if you come to it with that type of idea and realize the system or the state does exactly what they're saying your client does, and there's no accountability, now your conscience is completely clear.
Right. Okay. I think that was what I was thinking about in terms of criminal defense, and I think that's cleared it up a bit. What keeps you motivated after all these years in law?
The fact that, one person can change the course of history one trial at a time.
Yeah.
Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. And so once you understand that, and you truly are an officer of the court, you understand that there's a thin line between chaos and justice. And we are on that thin line. And so if you get off the line, we get to chaos and anarchy.
Yeah.
And we can't have that. Not on our watch.
All right. Okay. And I just had a thought about the criminal defense question. Sorry, I keep going back to that. If this is just a hypothetical situation, if you've defended someone who I think you don't ask them if they're guilty or not.
No, you never ask that question.
Right, you never ask that, right? So you ask, you defend someone and they're proven innocent and all that. And then that same person goes and does something even worse. Would a lawyer feel guilty about that?
No.
It's
like this. The greatest lawyers in the world have defended some of the worst people in the world. And after you defend somebody, you get them off.
Yeah.
You tell them, you only get one bite at this apple.
Okay.
Because the next time, the state's going to be ready.
Yeah.
And the stakes are going to be higher.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. The best lawyer I've ever seen was Johnny Cochran. What happened after Johnny died? Did OJ go free after that?
I'm not sure.
He didn't.
Oh. All right. So does that mean that lawyers kind of have a mutual respect for each other?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even on the other side, when you understand there's a great prosecutor over there, or a prosecutor understands there's a great criminal defense attorney on the other side, it's like, two. Do you like basketball?
Not really.
What sport do you like?
Formula One.
Formula One. Okay, the two greatest Formula One drivers of all time are racing against each other.
Yeah.
Mario Andretti and I forgot the other guy, but that's when I grew up on Mario Andretti. Is racing.
Okay.
So you get to see that.
Yeah.
And if you're that Formula One driver and you want to be the best, and you get to go up against him and you get to beat him, that's your career. And so that's how many great lawyers look at it, and they accept the challenge.
Yeah. And around the world, the legal system in terms of trials and criminal defenses, would you say it's pretty much the same?
No, it's different around the world. Okay. Sometimes you can only have trial by judge.
Okay.
Sometimes, like in some countries, the lawyers are more figureheads, and the jury gets to actually ask questions, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because most of the time in America, the jurors are sitting there quiet.
Yeah.
And you don't get to hear from them until after the verdict.
Yeah.
But I've seen in places where they cut right to the chase.
Okay.
And it's like, wow, that'd be interesting in America.
Yeah.
Be able to ask questions. So yeah, they're different. I mean, most of the places that came out of the British system, like America, they are mostly the same. But then there are other places in the world where it's completely different.
Right. Well, you're obviously a seasoned lawyer and you have a lot of opinions and things. What would you think is the perfect system that would work? Do you think the one right now, at least the common one in America, and it's kind of similar around the world? Do you think that works to?
I think
if
so.
it's applied correctly.
I think if it's applied correctly. I think if they took money out of it,
Okay.
and people all got the best lawyers, regardless of money, then this system works very well because you have two equally capable attorneys on both sides fighting.
Right.
And that's where you get the truth.
Right. Okay. Now you also do civil rights.
Yes.
How important is that for you? And do you think that everyone who practices law should do something similar?
I think so. I think every lawyer should be a constitutional scholar. And if you understand that civil rights comes from the bare fundamentals of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you have to understand that you owe that to make sure that it's passed down to the next generation. So I think every lawyer in his or her heart should be a constitutional scholar and ultimately a civil rights attorney.
Right. And you're obviously quite busy.
Yeah.
How do you separate your work from personal life, if that's even possible?
I used to think I could do that, but then I just recognized that I'm a lawyer 24/7, 7 days a week. I can be at family reunion and people pull me to the side and start asking legal questions.
Right.
So it never shuts off. But I think my wife and my son and my daughter, they keep me balanced to not be super dad all the time. Because, if you are a good lawyer, you're sort of a superhero.
Yeah.
Because many people put their entire faith in you. And so it can be a lot, but I think family keeps me balanced.
Okay.
When I'm not wearing a suit and tie, I'm a goofy kind of guy. I like playing video games and, stuff like that. So, I think that's what keeps me balanced. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. And let's say your younger self was sitting where I'm sitting. What advice would you give?
So a 16-year-old version of myself.
Yep.
Stop driving fast, first thing. But the second thing is take your time, man. You got a long life ahead of you because, man, I'm, 30 years older than you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that, yeah. Take your time. Understand that the path that life has for you is going to be for you. You can't rush it.
Yeah.
And, this world is moving in an interesting place.
Yeah.
And it's going to take lawyers to get it back on track.
Right. Yeah.
Elected officials and politicians aren't going to do it. The practitioners of the law, because it's a difference between politics.
Yeah.
People all over the world say lawyers are liars, right?
Have you watched the movie Liar, Liar?
I have.
Okay.
Lawyers are not liars.
Okay.
Politicians are liars.
Right.
Because lawyers simply take the laws that the politicians come up with and apply them in a fair and just manner. And ultimately, if they believe the law is wrong, they challenge it and get it changed.
Yeah.
So once you understand how the system works, you say, oh, that's why he's saying lawyers are not liars. We're not. There literally are two sides to everything.
Yeah.
But there's only one truth.
Yeah.
So if you got two lawyers that are equally skilled at defending or prosecuting their side, we're ultimately going to get to the truth.
Yeah.
Now, those people over there who are making the laws, they don't abide by the law most of the time, especially in this country.
Right.
Not going to talk about the guy who's been convicted for 34 felonies, but still running around here talking about he law and order.
Okay. Yeah.
But, so that's what I think. And I think that, anybody that's going to go in this profession has to understand that you're going to be responsible for what the law actually says and who's held accountable for your generation. And we cannot allow courage to skip a generation.
I agree. And it seems that the law that you practice is quite cutthroat.
Oh,
In the
absolutely.
criminal defense and litigation.
Yeah.
Is there a practice of law that isn't so tough?
I mean, corporate lawyers aren't that tough, but they deal with a lot of money.
Okay.
Yeah, all of them are. Family laws, man, family law is rough.
Okay.
You're dealing with custody and divorces, that's worse than a murder.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe corporate law, because
Yeah.
I mean, you're only dealing with money. You're not really, people are not losing their lives or, losing organs and, all kinds of catastrophic deaths and, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think the corporate lawyers, but like I said, they make a lot of money.
Yeah. And what's a common trait that you see with all lawyers, corporate, criminal defense, everything?
Arrogant.
Okay.
Yeah, very arrogant. Very matter of fact. They think they know it all.
Yeah.
But a great lawyer knows that he or she doesn't have all the answers.
Right.
They know how to get to the answer.
Yeah.
And they know how to ask the right question.
Right. And you know, that's a good point. And I feel like from what you've told me, I feel like I could add lawyers probably don't care what people think of them.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. If you care about how people or the world perceives you, you don't need to get in this profession. Because, I mean, there's all kinds of lawyer jokes. There's all kinds of stereotypes about lawyers. Everybody hates a lawyer till they need one.
Yeah. All right. And one more question I had before we move on from this segment. I saved it for the last. Now, you take a variety of cases.
Yes.
And it's kind of going back to the criminal defense part again. And it's a point that you made about that eventually the real truth will come out, and that's what determines your fate.
Mm-hmm.
Would you, and actually in some religions, defending a guilty person is, seen as bad if you know they are guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in your case that, you don't know if they're guilty or not.
Yeah.
But would you say that, a person who's defended the worst of people and even in some cases when someone gets out proven guilty, in the public, they're kind of seen as, the public kind of knows that this actually happened. And in some cases it is like that. And the lawyer continuously proves them innocent. Is that still a good person in your eyes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the system is flawed.
Right. Yeah.
In most places in the world, it's not fair. And so, if there's no fairness in the system, why are you condemning the person who's pointing out there's no fairness in the system and making sure that the worst of the worst get the same protection as the best of the best? And that way we get to the point where there's some semblance of fairness and justice.
Yeah. I think I like to think of myself as quite open-minded. And I see your point, and I think there's probably no other way that cases like that could be handled right now. Yeah. And for the last segment, it's the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So it's quick answers, but if you want to elaborate on some, because some are quite elaboratable,
okay,
you can go on about it.
All right.
What's one law you change instantly?
One law I changed instantly?
Yeah.
I get rid of the death penalty.
Okay.
Considering how many innocent people get railroaded in this country, I don't know how you can justify killing another person if you don't know not beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt they did it.
Right. Okay. This is a completely polar opposite question. What's your favorite legal movie or show?
My Cousin Vinny.
I haven't heard of that.
Joe Pesci, he goes down to Alabama and help his cousin and his friend who get charged with murder that they didn't do, and he gets up one night and it all clicks and he's able to prove them innocent. It's a funny movie, yeah.
Right. And I don't have many listeners right now, but if you have a piece of advice that you'd want to give, what would that be? Your best piece of advice?
The best piece of advice I've ever gotten was from Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
And it applies to law. I was on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2007 or 2008, and she came in the room, in the green room, and it was, we were having a conversation, and after I got off of being starstruck, because I was really fanboying, I said, "How you doing, Miss Winfrey?" And she's like, "How you doing, Mr. Griggs?" I got stuck again because she knew my name. And so then I asked her, I said, "What's the secret of your success?" And she said, "That's a good question. It's one of the best questions anybody's ever asked me." She said, "Control your narrative." Now, I didn't know what that meant at the time.
Yeah.
But it means tell your story. It's the same thing with a lawyer. if you want to assist your client, tell your client's story, you're the only person that could paint the picture of your client that will affect the minds of whoever the decision maker is. Yeah. And so that'd be the advice I would give.
Now, this next one is less of a rapid fire question, but came in my mind. What's your overall goal? Like, what's your purpose? I mean, are you working to something bigger, a safer community? What is it?
I think my goal is the pursuit of justice. Okay. I don't know what that looks like, and that's why I think I'll probably do this for another 50 years, because I don't really know what justice looks like. I know what it feels like, and I think we can get there. But that's my goal, justice.
Okay. Does justice feel different for everybody?
Absolutely. Some people, justice is defending their innocence before 12 people. To some people, justice is protecting their civil rights. To some people, justice is a large settlement check for an injury. So it just depends.
Right. Okay. Do you listen to music before a big case to kind of like focus, or even when you're working?
Sometimes. I hadn't recently, but yeah, sometimes.
Okay. All right. And what?
Outkast. Okay. I'm from Atlanta. Outkast.
Okay. If you weren't a lawyer, what would you be?
If I wasn't a lawyer, well, I mean, I had a dream to play football once a long time ago.
Is football
American football?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The real football. American football.
I think like half of the world.
Yeah, American football. But I think some type of contact sport, because I like contact. I like hitting people. Yeah. And, metaphorically now I hit people, but, before I actually hit people. Right. So I'm a fighter. I like to fight.
Yeah.
And so I think some type of, contact sport would probably be what I'd be doing, if I wasn't an attorney.
What's your favorite practice of law?
Civil rights.
Yeah.
Civil rights, and then criminal defense is a close second.
Yeah, I think that would be the most fulfilling, and helping the public and helping the community. I think any job and any person should probably aim to do that, whatever you're doing. But I think in law, you have a good position as well.
Exactly.
What's your proudest moment as a lawyer?
I have a couple. Changing the law in Georgia twice, the anti-bullying law, and then, of course, Ahmaud Arbery, the hate crime legislation here. Being a part of a team that took down a sexual predator and Robert Sylvester Kelly. And just overall, just helping people who were charged with serious crime and getting them acquitted. So I think somewhere in there, but I'm not done. Just when you get to the top of one mountain, you see, there's another peak.
Yeah.
And so you just keep going up. But I think those are some of the biggest moments.
Yeah. And I want to ask, so with all the law shows that I watch, all the top end lawyers, like, I guess you watch Lincoln Lawyer, right? Mm-hmm. So what's his name?
I forgot what his name is.
Whatever his name. Mickey Holler.
Yeah.
And Harvey Specter and all these characters, they always drop these bombshell lines. I think Harvey Specter said, if there's like a brick wall in front of you, just break it down. Have you ever said something like this in the courtroom or to an associate or something?
I have. And so in the Atlanta Public Schools cheating scandal trial, which was Georgia's longest trial, the prosecution took the star witness who lied on the stand to Chick-fil-A. And that's when her statement changed. So in the closing argument, I put on a very elaborate jacket. I had Chick-fil-A bag with a biscuit, and I handed the prosecution a chicken biscuit and said they bought their star witness with a chicken biscuit.
Oh my goodness, that's really good. They should put that in a TV show.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was on the front page of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, so hopefully one day, yeah.
Okay, I need to watch that.
Just go to APS cheating scandal trial closing arguments is in there.
I'll watch
on YouTube.
I'll watch that.
Yeah.
And what's your celebratory dinner after winning a case?
I don't know. I like Chipotle.
Okay.
But most of the time it's Longhorn, a steak, beer, something like that. But Chipotle is right up there now.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest courtroom pet peeve you have, if any?
Prosecutors underestimate me.
Okay.
Thinking I'm not prepared.
Even now?
Even now.
No way.
I'm always prepared. All I need is a police report. I don't even need to know what my client says might or might not have happened. I don't matter. Most of the time, I don't care. Like, don't tell. Listen, let me read this police report. You sit right there.
Yeah.
Because when I'm done with this police officer, you're going to see that even if you did do this, they can't prove this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve is being underestimated.
Right. What's the most overused legal phrase?
The most overused legal phrase. That's a good one, huh?
Can I take a guess?
Okay, go ahead.
Is it like objection when they just say something?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's it. It is objection.
Right.
Yeah. Or relevance.
Does that
objection,
actually happen?
relevant. Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right?
Sometimes people just object to break your flow. Especially in a closing argument. That's when I get really mad.
Right.
When you object in my closing argument, I'm going to get a shot in on you to this jury, and you're going to feel it.
Yeah, right. Finally, I think I already asked you for the piece of advice that you'd like to give. Mm-hmm. But for someone who wants to be a lawyer, what's a goal to work towards? What's something that they can look towards if they are planning on being a lawyer? Study
the greats. Study Abraham Lincoln. Study Johnny Cochran, Thurgood Marshall, Barack Obama. And find a characteristic of one of those great lawyers, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, one of those great lawyers, and become good at it. Yep. Whether it's great oration, whether it's great inflection, or whether it's analytical skills to see things that people don't see. Because cases turn on the smallest thing. The smallest thing. If they said that your client murdered 3 people on a Tuesday at the Waffle House, go to the Waffle House.
Okay.
Walk around the Waffle House.
Yeah.
Notice the cameras that are in the corners. Notice the cook that's in the back. Because it's a small thing that's going to show that he wasn't there. He might have been across the street.
Yeah.
He might have, the cook might have done it. It's all kinds of things. But once you go to the scene and you walk the scene, you look around, you're going to find something that's going to show that investigation was flawed and something's wrong with the whole case that's been put together.
Right. And that was my last question, but I have one more. You've mentioned video games twice.
Yes.
What video games do you play?
Right now, I'm playing 2K and College Football 26. It just came out. But I'm excited about Madden is coming. And I've been playing video games a long time. I think I started at 6 with
give me
Atari.
The top 5.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Madden, the old 2Ks, Mario Brothers. I'm forgetting something. Assassin's Creed, the old Assassin's Creed. Now it's kind of gotten interesting.
Okay.
And then the new Star Wars games are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the open world Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So, but definitely anything Madden or college football and 2K. Right up there, not the last 2Ks because the shot thing is off, but yeah.
The other day I was on a PlayStation store and I saw College Football 26, and I literally said, "I wonder who plays this."
I do.
Are you the only player? Or
No. So it came out 3 days early. So it came out what's today? Today is Wednesday. Was it Tuesday, Thursday? Whatever day it is. It came out on Tuesday, and people have been waiting. Like the game was gone since 2014. It came back last year.
Right. Okay.
And last year's was very good. This one's even better.
Right.
Like shout out to EA College Football 26. Yeah.
Honestly, I'd have to disagree with you on that.
You gonna say FIFA? What's it called now? FC 20 something.
I don't really play FIFA at all.
Okay.
I'm talking about the good games, man. Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, Ghost of Tsushima is good. Now.
Okay,
that's good.
Why wasn't it in your top 5?
Because it's new.
No, come on, man.
I've been doing this for almost 30 years. That's more like Ninja Gaiden. You remember that game?
I don't.
You don't know. See. That's why, again, when I play online, I typically don't cut the microphone on because I get he's an old head. He don't know anything. I've been playing video games since your mama was little. Okay?
I doubt that.
So I've been playing video games a long time. I mean, my first video game was Commodore 64. Actually, it might have been. Yeah, it was Commodore 64. Then it was Atari. Then, of course, the PlayStations came and Sega Dreamcast. So I've been playing a long time.
All right. Okay. I think I think that's it for today's episode. Thank you to Mr. Gerald Griggs. You can follow him on Instagram, Facebook, and also check out his website. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, follow me on Threads, on TikTok, YouTube, at Attorney Griggs on all of those. And I'll get back with you and I'll see you in the comments, or I'll see you on College Football 26.
You definitely won't see me. And thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.
That's great, man. Appreciate you. This was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed listening.
Yeah.